So, but with that, now that Brees is gone, the Saints have a big hole to fill. Sean Payton now has to make a decision. They decided to make a move because right now they're broke. They are way over the cap. Well, I think they were. They're finding ways out of it. One of those ways is they decided to sign Taysom Hill to a contract extension. It's a 4-year, $140 million. But it is the best part of what NFL capology, salary cap, CBA stuff that you could ever encompass into one. It's like the greatest thing about it because it's all monopoly money. The shit is fake. Ain't nothing there. Basically, his 4-year extension is 4 years avoidable money. And this is the way that the Saints did it to where they could remove some cap off of their top.
Yeah. By
doing that, in order to extend his signing bonus out at least 5 years, he needs to be on a 5-year contract. So they add this 4 years on there. So his salary, his signing bonus from this year is now extended over those 5 years and won't get hit but each year afterwards. And because of that, they can void this bad boy any year that they want to, pay Taysom Hill nothing because the only guarantee he got was a signing bonus for this season. So it's perfectly set up to where they can save money and at the same time they can evaluate Taysom Hill. If he is good, they can keep him at $140 million. If he's not, let him go. So that now leaves them in another void because Jameis Winston hasn't been signed yet. So to ask you this question, Jimmy, now that they have Taysom Hill locked up for potentially a starting quarterback's money, if it actually comes to that, which it won't, they're going to avoid it next year, should they sign Jameis Winston and keep the quarterback competition going?
I think they have to. I think on a short-term deal, you have to sign Jameis Winston. And obviously they don't have the salary cap capital to be able to do that. And based on the fact that they, to me, did a lot to show that they didn't believe more in Jameis Winston than they did Taysom Hill last season, I don't see them offering a big-time contract, despite the fact that he led the league in passing yards 2 years ago. So in terms of what's available out there, and given the fact that Jameis Winston knows, at least has a year within their system, I would say that he is probably their best option. I mean, it's another thing if Russell Wilson, who had them on their wish list, were to actually become available by the Seattle Seahawks, or even potentially Deshaun Watson. What they would have to give up to get either one of those guys would have to be astronomical, like you said, given that they have really no money. Not that necessarily the salary cap issue would affect that. But outside of that, I feel like Jameis has earned that. But see, here's the problem, and I was thinking about this. And we talk about talking about the relationship between quarterback and coach. Sean Payton, along with his defensive staff, spent 4 to 5 years picking apart Jameis Winston, right? Figuring out everything that he doesn't do right, everything that they don't like about him as a quarterback that they want to exploit. So to bring him in, not only to bring him in because they knew he was going to be a backup all last season, but then to potentially have him as your starter after you know about all these things that he does wrong that people don't know about. I mean, we know about the 33 interceptions. We don't know about the intricacies of what he doesn't do well that they picked apart. It's kind of difficult to think that even if they did bring Jameis Winston in, they would ultimately keep him at that position all season long without moving to Taysom Hill. I really do think that they favor Taysom Hill a lot more. So, yes, this is the best spot for Jameis, but I'm not sure that New Orleans feels that way. They feel good enough about him or really back him enough in order for him to be successful in this organization.
I'm there with you. Jameis, they need to go and sign Jameis. It only makes sense to bring him in. Look, I get everyone still continuously knocks this man for throwing 30 interceptions in one season, but there's a very logical reason to why he threw that many interceptions in one season. He threw the ball way too damn much. That's period, point blank. But he also threw 30 touchdowns that season. Jameis can do enough with a quarterback, with a coach that can reel him in to be successful. That's what he's been missing his entire career. He hasn't had a true OC that could focus on him. His best year was with Dirk Cutter when Dirk was his OC at the time. But when they shifted him into head coach, it was too much going on.
Right.
At that point, Dirk was all over the place, and there's no way for him to focus on what he really needed to focus on, which was Jameis. And they only hired him as head coach because they was in fear of losing him to be a head coach somewhere else, which made no sense to me, I got the logic, but it still makes no sense to actually make that type of a move. So to me, the biggest portion thing about Jameis over Taysom Hill is that Jameis is really an NFL quarterback. He really is. He's shown that ability. He's shown the ability to do it. And as he has matured more, this is definitely the direction you want to go. Now, as you said, financially, the problem is can they pay the man? They're probably going to hit him with the, hey, you should do a Cam Newton prove it deal. Mm-hmm. Last year really don't count because of that Rona, and it was really tough on everybody. Let's bring you in. You can go into competition with Taysom Hill. We know you're going to win it. Mm-hmm. And we can give you the opportunity to really start as a full season at quarterback. You're in the system. You're actually going to get a real offseason now. Mm-hmm. So adding a full year plus offseason, this is the best opportunity for him. I wouldn't take a job somewhere else because you don't know what it's going to look like, and no one's going to be able to offer you the right type of money to truly leave. I take the 1-year deal at a good mark and go ahead and see if you can compete and take the job of Taysom Hill. Because this is the best place to win. I don't think there's any place else you can go outside of Chicago, baby, and win immediately. But Chicago don't even know if they're going to have a receiver.
Well, what about Washington? What about Washington?
Ooh, they actually do have some weapons there.
Yes,
they do have some weapons on the offensive
and
side.
And an emerging defense.
That's potential.
Which, the Saints have had both. We know that. That's why they've been so competitive, and they make the playoffs every year. But I think if he does decide to go back to New Orleans, one thing that will help him is if the culture of the passing game is a lot like it was with Drew Brees. Because we know that Drew Brees didn't have the biggest arm. We know that Jameis obviously has a stronger arm than Drew Brees ever did. But what made Drew Brees so surgical is because, in a sense, he cut off a third of the field. He didn't really look to go downtown unless it was just there, everybody could see it, and he had to make that throw. A lot of his was intermediate and underneath. And when Jameis was in Tampa Bay, especially under Bruce Arians, part of the problem, what made him so spectacular but hurt him at the same time, and Arians has said this, is that he loves the chunk play. He loves to air it out. So with Jameis, you combine that air-it-out culture of a pass game with his decision-making that isn't always the best, then 33 interceptions and 30 touchdowns is exactly what you get. So I think that in New Orleans, it would help to temper some of that just in virtue of the culture of their passing game and the types of routes that the receivers run. So it's like, I'm not saying he can't be successful in New Orleans. I think that if they have to bring him back, they will bring him back. But I honestly, and you just brought it up, the Bears and the Washington football team, I think that those two situations might be equally as attractive, and they might offer him more money.
And that's going to be the key thing, is that they're going to offer him a lot more money in comparison to what everyone else. And so we have to kind of see what that looks like. Mm-hmm. All right?
Yep.